Hi guys, and welcome to how many audiobooks can I finish listening to as I learn how to embroider for the first time, because that's a requirement in my fashion class. And so let's just hop right into it. So now for context, I have mentioned in the past few weeks that I've been running errands, kind of collecting the materials I need and getting them ready. Now that I'm finally done with it, I figured there's no better time than the current present moment to pull up a tutorial video, understand how the stitches work, and actually work on doing it. And as I do so, kind of listen to a few audiobooks in the background to get my stitches done, because I need to be learning 12 for class. I'll have them on screen for you in case anyone cares. And so that's basically what we're doing in today's vlog. I have all my designs sketched out on the fabric as well. All I literally need to do is just hop right into it. So that's what we're starting with. We'll go pick up one of these, pick up the easiest stitch probably, I don't really know, and have like an audiobook going while I learn for the first time. So if you are like a beginner at this, please do not judge me. It's my very first time doing it. But regardless, I thought it'd be like a really fun vlog to look forward to this week, because I love reading and crafting. It's my favorite thing ever, and the fact that we're bringing that back again is so fun to me. So let's just hop right in. Maybe this will fix my slump, who knows. But listen, that's what I'm in the mood for right now. So I'm gonna pick this up, I'm gonna start, I'm gonna queue up an audiobook as well, and I'll catch up with y'all in a bit once I have my first sample done and a hang of the stitches, because I don't know anything at it. I'm a complete beginner, and let's see if I'm gonna mess up or if I actually might make it. Hi guys, so as you can tell, it's many hours later, and if you would have expected my first update to come in and say, hey, I finished like one stitch sample at least, I'm still working on it. I think I'm like halfway through, at least you can say at this point, is this palette I'm making. And if you want to know the technicals of it or whatever, it's called the back stitch. I don't know if it's like a great jumping point for beginners, but I saw it online, figured there'd be nothing wrong with just like jumping right in. So that's what I'm doing right now. It looks just okay, but hopefully things will get better. But that's where I'm at right now. I did end up listening to a whole audiobook out since though, and started the next one for the vlog, so I wanted to be somewhat frequent with my updates, which is why here I am to come in and speak about the first book I just ended up finishing, which is called Those Empty Eyes. I was listening to this not as like a regular audiobook, but as a graphic audiobook, because for some reason, I don't know how, the company sent me a copy, which is so crazy to me, because I have been obsessed with listening to like Fourth Wing and like Akamov as graphic audio. If you don't know what that is, it's basically like a dramatic version of the same audiobook, except it's done with multiple cast of characters or whatever in different voices, with a different narrator for like a different voice, and then there's like sound musical effects in the background to make it feel like a movie in your mind. So the company actually sent me that as an arc or whatever, and I'm just getting to it now. But regardless, thank you so much for it, which is so crazy to me, because I'm obsessed with their backlist or whatever they put out, and now getting to listen to this by myself, crazy. But I figured I'd pick it up anyway because I was in the mood for something like that. And basically it's more like a crime book rather than fantasy, but it's had the same effect or whatever. And so for a quick premise, basically it follows this girl called Alex. It also goes in past and present timeline, so she's our main character, but in the past timeline, basically a family is massacred. The cops, who are the first ones answering on the scene, assume that the eldest daughter who's found in there is the perpetrator, so they walk her out in handcuffs, and the media kind of takes photos that they put up online, which later gets like sensationalized, and she is now been nicknamed Empty Eyes. So that's Alex, who was actually escorted out or whatever. And then the next 2 months after that, she's still a kid, keep that in mind. She spends in a detention center, nothing to do with life, but then slowly she gets back out. She fights her way through all the charges that are being pressed upon her, and then later there's also a defamation trial she starts against the state, because she was never guilty in the first place. And after she's done with all of that, she takes the money she wins and she simply just vanishes, I guess you can say that, because she wants to go away from the media's eye or whatever. So she disappears, no one knows anything about her, and now years later she's changed her name and appearance to look like she's someone else, a normal person of society, not someone who would have been haunted with such things in her past. Now in present timeline, there's a different case that comes up, because like I said, when she was younger, she had to fight for her own justice. Now that she's like a 40-something-year-old woman or something, all grown up, she actually believes in finding justice for others as well. So she actually works for the legal firm that actually helped her get her independence, except now as she's working with them or whatever, there's this case that comes to her of this guy called Matthew, and he's suspected to be the one who murdered his like journalist girlfriend or something like that. except he didn't actually do any of that. He's just a student, and it turns out that his girlfriend was kind of looking after this podcast where she was going to be posting a cover-up story, except it involved like major politicians and people involved in it or whatever, the government and stuff, and that could truly like bring the collapse of many high-powered individuals that would have probably wanted her dead. So essentially you kind of follow Alex as she's trying to prove that Matthew is innocent, but also find out Laura, the girlfriend, her real killer. And as all of this happens, this current present crime actually kind of links back to the past one that happened to her family, and now she's trying to figure out what is going on, how it kind of matches up, why it's come up after all these years, and trying to figure out her own role to play in it. And that's basically the book. I feel like it was really interesting the way it was portrayed, but also it was a very mid story in comparison, because if I was reading it on Kindle, I definitely would not have finished as fast as I did listening on audiobook. But because I was listening on 3x speed, highest on the NetGalley app, and because this genuinely felt like a podcast in my mind, I couldn't stop. So in one sitting, I continued with my parrot, learning the stitch on something else, and then practicing here for my final draft for still making it like shit. I finished it. So I'm gonna give it like 3.5 stars, because it was a good enough book. I definitely feel like some plot lines threw me off, and it was a little confusing at the beginning with different perspectives and everything else coming in, and you know, some things happening at the end. It wasn't as much of a shocker, but there's also like a last page plot twist that happens, so there's nothing wrong with that. It was alright. It was just like a decent book. But if you do end up picking it up as the graphic audiobook, it will definitely elevate the experience, at least the way it did for me, because with a different cast of characters, it genuinely felt like I was watching like a documentary, except for my ears. And it was great because it genuinely felt like one of those crime shows you'd listen to on Spotify running in the background. And while it isn't real, thank God for that, it was a fun piece of fiction I enjoyed nevertheless, and I'm happy to be done with it now. Moving on to our next book, I did start another one, but then I figured I'd put that down and come update about this one before anything. So I don't really know premise yet. I'm just gonna go keep listening and hopefully be done with this by the time I'm at least halfway through that book or whatever, because that would be so funny if I finish another book out while I'm still working on the first sample and we have so many more to go with. So we'll see what happens, but basically that's my update. Maybe I'll get faster at stitching the more I do of it, and maybe I'm slow right now only because this is my first time. So I don't really know. Drop tips for me in the comments if you have any, if you're good at this, because this is definitely something I'm going to be using in the next few weeks or whatever on a daily basis for my class that I've taken up. So we shall see, but this is my progress right now. I'm just gonna go continue listening to my book, stay stuck in the same spot per usual, but this is like my introvert self's dream, so it's kind of perfect, and continue stitching and see how that goes. But yeah, so far I'm actually having quite a decently good time, and it's not what I expected, but it's good enough anyway. So I'm just gonna go continue at it, and I'll see you guys hopefully in a bit when this is complete. Bye. Okay, hi guys, another day, another update. I have gone ahead and finished our first stitch sample, our stitch panel out. I did the back stitch and I made this like parrot. I don't know why I'm saying that again, because I'm pretty sure I already told you about it, and I finished it. It looks kind of incomplete to me, so maybe if we have more time later and the mood arises, I might just sit and fill each color out. But for now, this is fine. It will qualify. As long as I'm done, that's literally all I need. I'll come back in the future maybe to rework it so I have like a nice finished piece, but for now this looks okay to me. And as I was finishing this out, I managed to go ahead and finish our next audiobook for this video as well. It's called The God of the Woods. This is nearly 500 pages. I realized when I went to go update my Goodreads, and I finished it. So I guess it's just update time or whatever before we move on to the next book, because now this is probably going to be like my most productive week ever, considering I have so many samples I still need to do. And since one sample is taking 2 audiobooks, I should be done with a bunch of my TBR in no time. So to update you on The God of the Woods or whatever, basically it's like a mystery thriller sort of book that takes place in a very fall-ish setting. It's like got the spooky atmospheric vibes because we follow past and present timeline. In the present timeline, this girl called Barbara, she goes missing at this like campsite, and she's like a 13-year-old. They're not really sure where she's headed off to, but they are a little scared because she's like too young to survive out there in the woods by herself. Except she's the camp owner's daughter, and this is not the first time it's happened, because this is present timeline. In past timeline, about 14 years ago, her older brother also vanished into the woods, never to be seen again. So it's the same family, the same siblings, except now the younger daughter is gone, and now they're like terrified that something may have happened. And now you're trying to kind of figure out what's connecting the 2 disappearances together and how they link up, because it's very interesting, but it's also kind of long-winded. So that's basically like a quick premise for this book. I feel like in terms of my thoughts, I had an okay enough time, I guess, listening to it. It was entertaining me while I was doing this, because keep in mind I got so frustrated with this last night while I was still working and it just wasn't getting over. It felt never ending, and I feel like the audiobook helped me persevere through it, because I would have put it down and never come back to it otherwise. And I definitely do have to make all of these on deadline and submit them in the next 20 days. So since I have no option to do that, at least at the moment, because I need to finish them all, and otherwise I have no time to throw it into backlog, the book definitely forced me into kind of continuing just to see how the mystery unfurls. But I will say personally, I'm not a huge fan of the way it concluded, because it was very anticlimactic for the way the story, the plotline is set up. It does make sense for the story, but it wasn't as dramatic as you'd expect it to be. And I feel like for such a long book, I would have at least expected something that blew my brains out. This kind of didn't. Otherwise though, one pro I would like to mention about the book is the writing style. For some reason it really reminds me of when I read Stephen King's It, and the storylines are completely not the same, but the way he writes, for some reason it reminds me of that writing style, because while the author is giving you enough detail, the book is long enough, you do need the detail. It's also helping you kind of flesh out each character and kind of understand their nuances. And not just that, you're getting enough backstory that over here, at least I'll say, I was entertained to see where it would go. Because when I read It by Stephen King, there was so much detail that I personally felt like he would get lost in the storytelling of the detail, and then that would go over my brain. Here, what I want to say is that there is enough detail, but it's just enough to keep you engrossed, to keep going, rather than have it go all over your head, which is a great plus point, because I feel like this sort of storytelling style is really good to hook an audience. It's just, it needs to be enough in the sense that it's giving you bits that do keep you entertained, but at the same time also progressing plot. And I feel like this happened beautifully in this one. I don't really see much of the hype though still, because I honestly didn't find the ending to be much of a shocker, but maybe that's just me and my slump, because online everyone loves it. For me, unfortunately, it was just like a mid-book. The only saving grace was the writing style. Otherwise there were a couple annoying characters, a couple storylines that I just wasn't getting a hang of, and it definitely did get a little longer towards the end. But regardless, I'm happy to be done now, and I'm giving it like 3 stars maybe. It is a good book for fall if you still want to pick it up by the time I post this video, and yeah, it was a good one to get into. Now I am not really in a mystery vibe anymore, mystery mood, because I've read 2 back to back, so I think I'm going to take a break from this and pick up a different genre. But because it was getting too late yesterday in the night, I didn't want to start anything and then zone out on that, so I'm just going to go start something new right now. And since this is already done, I'll go pick up another panel, figure out another stitch. Learning curve coming right ahead, and we'll see how that goes. But I'll update you guys in a bit once I have the next book complete, because at this point I am speeding through books and it's the best time ever. So let's just hop right in. Okay guys, so I went ahead, finished the next audiobook out for this video, and just in time too, because I'm so hungry. I'm just gonna go directly and have dinner now. But before anything, I wanted to give a quick progress update, so then I can go off without feeling guilty about it. So since the last time I came in, I have gone ahead and made the decision that this just looks incomplete to me, so I'm actually gonna stay up tonight, finish off the current one I'm doing, and after that clip this onto this circle thing again, the ring, and then redo this, but the entire thing, fill it up with the back stitch in color so it looks like complete, I guess. I don't know, but it doesn't look okay to me right now, so that's back on the agenda. On the other hand, I started a new stitch because I have samples for every stitch I need to be doing, and this one is called the chain stitch. I'm doing like a basket of fruits. I don't really know if you can tell, but I'm kind of liking the job I've started on this. This is still a work in progress, please ignore, but this is to show you that I was working on it as the audiobook cut off, and I was just like, hey, it's done. And it's crazy because this doesn't even look like a lot, but it took me the entire audiobook, so that's actually scaring me, because how many books will I be able to get done now? Is this my new superpower? But at the same time, how slow am I that it's taking me one whole audiobook on 4x speed, that I'm still stuck here, haven't even finished one sample, and here we are. So I have good hopes that by staying up tonight and working on finishing this, because this was the complicated part, this is all easy, I can probably finish it off soon. And then after that, once I have to shade all of this in, I have good hopes we can finish one more tonight. We shall see about that. But to update you on my current audiobook, I just finished listening to the Book Eaters, and I have a couple things to say before I'm actually going now. For premise, basically it's set on the outskirts of England or whatever, and it follows our main character Devon. She's part of this family which is like a clan of people who, instead of subsisting on food like we do, they eat books. So there's like 6 families total, and I don't know why I did that. There's 6 families total, and she's part of one of them, and essentially all they do is eat to consume. So whenever they eat a book, it kind of like tastes like food to them. Romance novels, in the description it says, are sweet. They eat maps and dictionaries to like memorize words and places or whatever. Dictionaries are musty, so the children who misbehave are made to eat that. And as the terms of politics or whatever, men are to be eating like adventurous books so they can grow into being like that, and women are made to eat like princess stories, so they are made to, you know, bow down to their king and subdued or whatever. And in the midst of everything else, that is all right. It's just whatever they eat is something they retain as well, so any information they consume gets imprinted into their minds as well. And it seems all right consuming all these princess stories growing up. It looks like she could live the happily ever after she's always wanted, except then she has her son, and the weirdest part is her son has an appetite not for books but for human minds. So where does it go off from there? Because now how is she supposed to, because she's kicked out from the houses, by the way, so how is she as a single mom supposed to raise her son on a diet of human minds in the human realm? Except they don't have an identity to expose in the first place because they just don't show up on human documents. So without like an ID and stuff, she's supposed to live her life trying to figure out how to sustain with her and her son. And in the midst of everything else, there's a lot of like politics involved, and frankly, I'll just be honest, I feel like it was too much. The plot, the storyline is very interesting. I feel like the idea is really good, but the execution, for me at least, number one, there's no world building, so you have no idea why they eat these books in the first place, where they came from, whatever. You're just thrown right into it, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I feel like a little more to the world would have been better for plot. There just wasn't any. Second thing I feel like is the politics. For some reason, it felt a little repetitive and monotonous to me personally. Maybe it's because I don't know, there are some fantasy books that politics I do enjoy, but maybe this one specifically just wasn't for me, because I'm not much of a fantasy reader anyway, and so it was just okay to me. We did have a subplot of romance that I actually had a really good time with, but apart from that, I feel like there was no other saving grace for the book. It definitely also acted kind of like a social commentary, wherein you're speaking about love and who deserves it and how much of an abstract concept it is. A bunch of things about morality and family and stuff like that, what lines you're willing to cross for whoever. And it's very interesting, I feel like, as a discussion, but as a fantasy book, it definitely lacked, because I would have expected more to go on. In terms of like plot execution, I feel like there wasn't a lot that was holding my attention. It was alright. Some politics, they were interesting, but then when it kept repeating over and over, I feel like it dulled me down to the point where I just couldn't care less. So while I did enjoy the initial premise or whatever, I feel like the author didn't do a very great job making me like the characters, and because I wasn't able to connect to any of them, I couldn't give half a shit where the story was going. So I'm done now, and I don't really care how it ended off or whatever, which is why, because I'm indifferent to it, I'm gonna say it was mid and just like give it 3 stars and move on, because again, it was entertaining, but I couldn't care less. So it was alright to read, but again, it's up to you whether you want to or not. Still something you can pick up for the fall, because I feel like any fantasy book is literally made for fall, and while this wasn't necessarily fantasy, it felt more like magical realism because it's set in our world. I feel like it was okay enough anyway, and I'm happy to be done. So now I'm gonna go have dinner and see what I pick up next after I come back, because now my brain totally feels fried from everything else going on with the politics and whatever in the previous book. But that's it. I'm gonna go take a break now, and hopefully I'll update you guys directly tomorrow morning if I did manage to get to another audiobook, because I know I have to stay up to finish these 2 samples today, and we shall see if that ends up happening, but that's basically the goal plan. Let's see how it goes. Cross your fingers for me, because I have so much stuff to catch up on otherwise, college related, and I'm kind of scared because I have submissions due in like a little over a week for the other things, and I'm still stuck on this, and now it's all catching up with me. I'm kind of scared, so we shall see. I'm gonna go figure this out, but I'll come update you guys in a bit. Bye. Okay guys, so like I said in the last clip or whatever, I was gonna stay awake last night or whatever, finish a whole audiobook out and then come in and update. I listened to 2 chapters of the book I was supposed to be starting or whatever, and then I went to bed, not because the book was boring, but because I was so tired I literally couldn't keep my eyes awake. And so here we are. I did go ahead and continue listening to the book, and I just finished, which is why I'm coming to give you an update. But before anything, I didn't do anything to this yet. I still have to go back to it, and so that's my goal plan for tonight, because I don't feel as tired. So we're gonna stay up tonight. fingers crossed that actually happens. But I'm gonna color this in. And progress update on the fruit basket, this is how much I've gotten done so far. It doesn't look like a lot, trust me, I'm not whiling my time away. It's such a slow process that I wish I could hit fast forward on, because it's like monotonous and repetitive, and because I want to cry from how badly I've poked my index finger with the needle. But also it's kind of soothing because I'm having a good time with my audiobooks, and listen, nothing wrong with it. So I'm doing this right now, still in the middle of it. Next audiobook I pick up, hopefully I'll be able to finish all of this out and then color this in, and that's the goals for tonight. But basically for the current book that I just managed to finish listening to, it's called Tell Me 3 Things. It's like a YA book, and it basically follows our main character Jessie. She feels like everything in her life is going just stupidly downhill, because 2 years ago her mom died, and then now her father, he's eloped with a woman he met on the internet. And so they used to live in Chicago, they've moved to LA to live with her in her house, and so now Jessie's kind of forced to have like a new teenage pretentious stepbrother as well. And then not just that, she's now having to start high school over in like a completely different place. It's her first day over there. It's honestly like a war zone. It's a shit show, because there's all these like pretentious, like high class sort of people that are living this like privileged life she's never got to live before, and so they don't necessarily appreciate what they've been given in life. And because of that, she's kind of standing out in the crowd, because she can kind of see the excesses the way it is, but also she cannot really relate, because now while they have gotten into a wealthy household, his new wife or whatever the father's, she's definitely on the richer side. Jessie didn't actually grow up with that, all her childhood or whatever, so she still feels weird about it. And then out of nowhere, she's struggling to, I guess, grasp what's going on and kind of live with it, to kind of settle into her new life. She gets a mail from someone called Somebody Nobody, so SN for short, and they kind of offer to be her guide throughout the high school, help her kind of make her way through, give meaningful tips and stuff. And so these two start communicating back and forth daily. They have this thing wherein, as like almost like an emotional bonding experience, because she doesn't know who that person is, it's kind of like a secret letters type of thing. They'll exchange 3 things about each other every single day, so they get to know the other person better, but she still doesn't know the real identity of the person, so it's definitely got secret identity trope as well. And back in June, when I ended up reading Alex Approximately, this book reminded me of that, except I think more heavier, because that one specifically was just like a good old rom-com-y fun time. This one comes with so much more depth, because you're not only watching someone in the stages of grief and having lost someone, but also you watch as love comes back in her life. She finds her first love, she's kind of dealing with other teenage things or whatever. And I feel like the way it was described, this book, emotions and stuff, I don't know how to explain it to you, but for every single last minute of the few hours I've spent this evening at least kind of listening to the book, my throat has been choked up, because as someone, I'm not trying to self-project right now, but as someone who lost someone very important to me last year, I don't really know how to explain it to you, but everyone's process of grieving is different, and it's just, I feel like I connected to certain things this girl said, certain thoughts she's had, because it feels like some of my own stuff written down on paper. And I don't know if I've ever read a book like that wherein it just makes me feel sad. And it's not a bad kind of sad, it's a good kind of validating sad, because I'm actually seeing myself get recognized out there. And I don't know how to really explain it without sounding weird or whatever, but then the author also says that this is kind of inspired from her own life, and so it's weird to know that other people have had similar experiences or whatever in the way grief works. And just the way it was written was beautiful to me. But basically I ended up finishing this one out, and again, I don't know how to explain it to you, but this is like one of the most wonderful books I've ever read, not just in the sadness sense or whatever, but definitely also in the romance that was developing, because it is a YA book. We are to be given a few happy moments at least in the middle of all the sad, so we feel better. And this one I feel like was perfectly balanced out. The most that can happen in a YA is the characters kissing, and I feel like to make up to that kissing, I feel like because the authors have more space and more time to kind of get you to acclimate with the characters, I feel like more emotional bonds are developed in YA books. And YA generally, in my opinion at least, is written better than adult romances, because there's a lot of rushing and I guess like physical connecting. Here, when you connect on this like emotional sense, that's what love looks like to me. And so the way this was written and the way you got to see her connect with someone, and I'm not going to reveal who it is to you, and then get all of that despite how bad it's been leading up to that moment, I don't know, there was just something about it. I loved every second. So I had the best time reading this. I genuinely don't know if it's a 5-star book at the moment, because I'm still trying to process. So here I am. Give me a few days at least to kind of figure out how I feel about this, but I will have my final rating on the screen once I'm editing. I think it'll definitely be between 4 and 5 stars. It's just because I'm questioning whether it's 5 stars right now that's actually making me wonder, because if I'm questioning it, it probably isn't, but it will still really be highly rated because everything about this book, the connections, the realness, the rawness of it, I could actually feel it. And listen, I had the best time reading ever. So here we are, finished the next book out. Now I'm gonna hop on to maybe like another mystery or something like that, because I definitely do need a book that's gonna keep me awake now, seeing as it's getting darker and darker and later outside. And also I want to go grab dinner right now, so once I come into lock-in after dinner, it's definitely going to be a little too late to be reading other books. I need something that's going to hold my attention, and so hopefully find a good mystery one on my TBR or something along those lines, and that'll be the next one I pick up. But that's what I'm going to be listening to now as I finish Fruit Basket and Parrot out, and then I'll come see you guys I think directly tomorrow, or maybe in the night actually, if I have updates to give you if I finish the next book out or whatever. But those are the plans. I'm gonna go now. At least the video is looking up and we're finding better books at the moment, and hopefully I'm crossing my fingers and praying that roll continues, because truly the way this one made me feel is unmatched. I'm still recovering. I need a little time to process, but yeah, video is looking up right now. Happy to have read that, and I'm so happy I got to it finally because it's so worth reading. Okay guys, hi, it is now the next afternoon. I have come in to update because I did successfully manage to stay up and finish another audiobook. So now we're on a roll, because this is what I wanted to do yesterday. I wasn't able to, but now that I actually have, it's so fun coming in to update to say, hey, I finished another book. So to update you, basically I also managed to go ahead and finish out this. It finally looks complete to me, so I'm going to take it like off this ring or whatever and put another one in. But this was the chain stitch, I believe, and it's like a basket of fruits that I made. It looks okay to me. Don't come criticize, because I worked so hard on this that if anyone says anything about it, I will probably cry. So even though it looks like half complete, I don't care. It's okay in my eyes, and I finished this off or whatever. But then after that, I didn't get to this or whatever, because again, it got a little too late at night. So maybe I'll get back to this today, or I'll start a new one. I don't know. But basically, those are the plans. We've actually got one full finished one at least, and so that's good progress. I did manage to continue and finish listening to this book called The Coworker by Freida McFadden, because for some reason I was in just like a Freida mood yesterday. Her books are like popcorn thrillers in my opinion. They're hit or miss, because whether they hit or they don't, they're still entertaining enough that you are hooked and invested into the plotline, however crazy and outrageous it may be. And even if they end up missing, it was still a fun time going along with it. So I picked this one up because this is like one of the only ones I don't have downloaded to Kindle. The rest of them, I literally have her entire backlist. The ones I haven't read yet, downloaded. So I figured, okay, might as well just get the audiobook and listen to it. Basically, it follows two women in this like one workplace. So it's like an office that kind of sells like supplements and stuff, and we follow two of the colleagues, I guess you can say, over there. One of them is called Dawn. She's like weird in the sense that she's one of those workaholics who she takes her work a little too seriously, to the point where that's the only topic of conversation she's got. So when she's trying to initiate like conversation with others, she always manages to say the wrong thing at the wrong time. She just doesn't have any friends. She's not popular at all. She's very disliked by everyone, and she's such like a punctual, like on the dot sort of person that every single day, regardless and without fail, she'll show up at her desk at 8:45 to continue work, because she's so invested that instead of pouring herself into other like office dynamics and stuff, she's just putting all that work into working as an accountant or whatever. So she's basically the reliable one. On the other hand, we follow Natalie. She's basically like an adult cheerleader. She's like popular and pretty and everything that she'd ever want or whatever, everything Dawn would ever envy. And you know, Dawn tries to be friends with Natalie, but it doesn't really work out because Natalie is also a bit of like a mean girl and stuff. But because their desks are right beside each other, so Dawn's is right here and then right next to her is Natalie, they still work in close quarters, to the sense that Natalie does notice Dawn's like weird habits or whatever, and she does sort of keep an eye on her, because to her Dawn is like a child and she doesn't really like it when other people are too mean to her. So Natalie, who's like the most beloved in the office, she's got like 5 years of sales work rep, she's always kind of looking out for Dawn or whatever, except one morning when she walks into the office, Dawn has never come in late. She never like skips and takes off days and stuff. So Natalie's kind of confused when she sees Dawn's desk empty and it's past 8:45. So she's just wondering, how is Dawn late? Because she's never late. She never skips. She never like ditches on the work or whatever, and so she's actually kind of concerned. Later in the day, there's like a weird anonymous call that comes in that now has Natalie worrying for Dawn's safety, because it kind of sounds like Dawn's voice, except in this like tortured, mangled sort of sense, saying help me, and suddenly Natalie is a little too invested trying to figure out what happened to Dawn. And as she starts going into this like twisted game or whatever, going back to her house trying to figure out what actually went down, she figures out that there was someone at their workplace, specifically in that specific office or whatever, who had some sort of vendetta against Dawn, that it was twisted enough that they are now out to get her, and with enough motive that they've probably killed her at this point. So Natalie's trying to figure out what happened to Dawn. The cops are in it and they're actually kind of smart in this case, and you know, everyone's running low on time. You're trying to figure out what actually happened, and you're getting kind of like a past and present timeline, so it lines up. But can I just say quickly, when this book lines up, I think this might be like my second favorite Freida McFadden. I haven't decided yet, of all time, because it was so good. Maybe I'm dumb because the internet doesn't really like it very much, but for me personally, when the plot twist started hitting, I did not call any of that, so it completely went above my head. I was so shook listening to this at like 3 in the morning, wondering how the heck that specific twist happened. And listen, it was great to me. I had such a good time. I feel like it was investing and intriguing, and the fact that I finished it in one sitting, literally locked in after dinner, and then finished it out later at around like 4 or whatever, and then went to bed. I'm sorry, I couldn't put it down. I had the best time ever. This was such a slay, and so I'm gonna give it like 4 or 4.5 stars. Again, I have to go decide, but please pick it up if you haven't already, because it's so crazy, it's so good. And it's the small things, because I feel like Freida books never take them at face value when she says something, because everything she says is there in the book for some reason, and when it connects at the very end, I'm sorry, nothing is a passing remark in her books. The small sentences, when they come back to haunt you towards the end, can I quickly just say, I'm still reeling from it. I had such a good time, and this was the perfect book to pick up in the moment at least. Now I kind of do want a break or whatever from all of these different genres I'm reading. I want something that's palate cleansery, because listen, I'm a little tired, so I'm thinking maybe I'll pick up like some sort of romance. But today is also Halloween, so happy Halloween guys, and maybe I'll pick up something along those vibes. But I'm thinking I want something spooky now, so I'll go see what's on the TBR, continue listening or whatever, and do this. Not this, I'll do the parrot, but that's what I'm doing today. Those are the updates. I'm gonna go now. Quick story nobody cared about, but yesterday when I was awake till like 3 in the morning working on this, listening to my audiobook out, I got hungry at some point, so I went to get like ice cream and cheese. And can I quickly just say, as I was like embroidering this and eating my ice cream and cheese, that sounds so weird, but as I was doing that, the weirdest plot twist hit me, and I'm just eating my cheese and processing what the hell happened. And I just thought that would be funny enough to mention, because it feels like a meme, but it's really not. It's my life. So here we are. That's what happened, and now I'm gonna go get into the next book, whatever I end up picking up. But yeah, those are updates. I'm so happy I read this one, and now I completely feel out of my slump, because I'm finding great books again and I'm loving reading again. So this is perfect. I'm gonna go get back to it. I'm loving this whole crafting and reading experience. But yeah, that's it. I'm gonna go now. Bye. Okay, hi guys, it's much later. It's the same day, but it's like nightish right now, and I've come in to update because I just finished the audiobook of the evening. So this one's called Haunted Ever After. Perfect vibes, because today is Halloween, so I had to pick this one up. But before I update you on that, I did pick this back up. I took the other one off because it's complete, but I put this back on because I wasn't really sure about the coloring the whole thing in. And so I started it, and I just started with the petals to go small in case I didn't like the look of it or whatever. But I'm actually loving the way it's turning out, however messy it looks, which is why I'm going to continue the same thing over the entire thing. And it doesn't look like a lot, but these stitches are so intricate that it's taking me so long, and then you know, in the middle of everything else. So doing this, the hustle bustle of Halloween evening, the fact that tonight my parents actually went out and they'll be coming home later, so they're eating from outside and whatnot. So me and my little sister planned kind of like a pizza party with my grandparents to actually go ahead, you know, get those pizzas, get everything else that we want to eat, get everything set up. The audiobook ran out, so I did finish the book. It's just I didn't use a lot of it into this. I used it in other things as well, and we're done now, so I don't really care because it was a fun Halloween read anyway. And I'm gonna continue as soon as I'm done eating now, because our pizza is here. The McDonald's that my sister will be having is also here. Everything's set up. Can't wait to go do all of that. But to update you, in the midst of all the hustle bustle running around, the audiobook is over. So I finished it. I'll give you a quick premise, but then moving on, I think I will sit up again tonight despite how tired I'm already feeling, because there's so much to do, and if I don't catch up now, I don't know when I will. So I do want to finish all of this by tonight, but we'll just have to see how that works out. And I'm in the middle of like this spooky mood again for books or whatever, so hopefully I'll find something spooky like this, because essentially if you've ever seen those Insta reels online that kind of advertise that spooky small town aesthetic, so there's like a small town or whatever and there's these weird things happening and it's up to you to kind of figure out what's gone down, and it's like foggy and giving you all the atmospheric vibes. This is essentially that aesthetic, but make it a book or whatever, because this one essentially follows small town of Boneyard Key. They already have this like haunted edge to them, but the thing is the town, it's not really doing so great. So to kind of capitalize on the tourism dollars, they decide that okay, let's just lean into the ghostly side of things and advertise that, which is why the original name or something else has been changed to Boneyard Key. And every year during tourism season especially, people come in to kind of enjoy the attractions and stuff, basically like ghost tours, and there's like a coffee shop that's called Haunted Hollows, and there's like, oh wait, is it Haunted Ground? I don't know, I'm getting confused. But then there's like another one which is called Spooky something, and so there's a bunch of other things going on. This is definitely haunted because there are different things going on in it with like ghosts and spirits that kind of, you know, are used as part of the money making scheme. Except we actually follow our main character Cassie. She is kind of sick with everything going on in her main city girl life, because all her friends, they're having children, or they're having really great satisfying jobs, or they're getting married and they're like talking about it, and she's at the age, I think she's in her 30s or something like that, wherein she is expected to do those things by society, but she's not in the mindset ready yet because she hasn't found the right person, and she just wants to run away from all the pressure and whatnot. So she ends up buying a cottage which is already flipped up in this small town or whatever, except she doesn't realize that there's something wrong with that house, because as it turns out, it's haunted. So every time she goes in to plug her laptop, for some reason it won't charge. She calls the electrician, when he does it, it works, but when she does it, it doesn't. And then not just that, there's other things, like she's got these like little fridge magnets and stuff with letters on them, and she keeps it a certain way, but every time she walks out of the room, the letters rearrange to spell other words. So stuff like wrong and my house, and you know, just weird creepy things. And then, you know, there's like sounds coming out of nowhere, doors closing, a weird aura altogether. So she ends up running into this guy called Nick. He is the coffee shop owner. I think it's called either Hallowed Ground or Hallowed whatever, but basically that place also leans into the spooky aesthetic, and Nick is kind of like a local townie. So he kind of asks Cassie to come along with him or whatever on the ghost tour, kind of figure things out with the house or whatever, find that situation. Except as it turns out, every time she goes and meets him, she's starting to like fall for him, and their connection is going deeper as they're trying to dig into the history of the house, and they're falling in love or whatever with each other, except she is planning on selling the house and moving out after she's done, and he doesn't want to get his heart broken. And in the midst of everything else, because her laptop won't charge, it's kind of like forced proximity, wherein she takes it because she still needs to continue working to his coffee shop to charge, and he leaves her a slice of banana bread for free every single time with cinnamon because she likes it that way. And so their connection is definitely, you know, increasing or whatever, strengthening. But in the midst of everything else, she's not sure if anything can work out. And then we have the complete other plot line of them trying to figure out what actually went down with the house and history, and the ghost that's currently residing and, you know, occupying it to kind of freak people out, because there's other things with that. She's a little spooked out in the house, but then she starts adjusting to the small town life, to their life, and suddenly she's wondering if everything could change potentially for the two of them. So basically it's like a long-winded story, or at least my explanation is such. It's a really good one, especially on today, because I feel like any other day of the year you would have given it to me, I probably would have hated it. But today, with all the vibes and aesthetic of the day and everything else I'm feeling in the moment, this was like the perfect book to pick up. Slayed with the selection, honestly. And while I definitely would have rated it so much lower if I picked it up on any other day, I feel like today specifically just added to my, I guess, atmospheric gothiness as I was reading it or whatever. It felt like stuff that's happening in the book is also happening in real life because of the fall vibes and the Halloween aesthetic. And so you definitely have to suspend your belief system while you're reading it and pick a day wherein you know you can get into the vibes of it, because otherwise I'm not so sure if this is everyone's cup of tea. But it is a great book and I did have a great time reading it, so I'm happy I picked it up or whatever, and I'm gonna give it like 3 stars. I definitely did enjoy the mystery aspect to it, though it felt a little short towards the end, but that's fine because it still gave me the vibes I wanted. And thanks to the mystery, I feel like the focus in this book is more on that other than the romance. We got time for the romance to build up as well, and while it's not my favorite, it was sweet enough, and I feel like it definitely worked in the book's favor because everything else piling on leading up to it, I had a good time. I love reading about the town history and stuff, everything that's happened in the past, and maybe I will continue the series, I don't know. But so far, I'm happy I picked it up. Had such a great time reading, as you can probably tell at this point. And it probably shouldn't have hit me as hard as it did, but somehow it hit just the right spot. So it was a great time. I'm happy I read it, and now I'm gonna go have dinner with my grandparents and sister, and I'll catch up with y'all in a little bit once I have more updates on the next book I end up picking up. But those are my plans for tonight. I'll get back to this soon. And yeah, I'm having the best Halloween ever. Like truly, I think this is unbeatable today. But that's about it. I'm gonna go get back to it now. Truly, this book actually made my year at this point. If you can pick it up and if you're in the mood for it, definitely consider it because it's a palate cleanser book, but it's a good one regardless, and I'm happy to have gotten with. So I'm gonna go now. See you guys in a bit. Bye. Hi guys, so it's now a week later. It's actually the night I need to go ahead and post this video, but I figured I never give an outro, so I came in to do that. Except as it turns out, I did not review the last book for this video, and then when I went back to look at the rest of the clips, I lost the clips I spent reviewing the other books as well. So since my last update to you, I actually managed to finish 3 books, 2 of which I reviewed but I lost the clips for, and the third one which I didn't come in to speak about. So here I am to kind of wind up the entire thing, kind of speak about the last 3 books I managed to get to, and then finally give you an outro and then conclude the vlog because it does need to go up tonight. But basically, that's a long ass rant. Let's just get into what I was supposed to say for the vlog specifically. I believe my last update to you, I don't really know what I was showing you, but essentially in this video I managed to get done with only 2 of the panels out of 11 that I was supposed to be finishing. So one turned out like this. It's like a fruit basket. I still think these look incomplete. I don't know what to do about them. So if you have like suggestions, please comment, because like I'm confused, but at the same time my deadline is approaching. I need to submit all of this in a few days at this point, and now I'm a little worried because I'm still getting through majority of the bulk of the ones that are remaining, and so there'll be more vlogs on that when they come out. But until then, I managed to finish that, and I also managed to finish shading in and coloring the parrot out. I think it turned out okay, but now looking back on the previous clips and then with this and comparing the two, I'm not actually sure if the unshaded looks better than this, and I spent too much work on this to rip all of it out anyway, so I'm gonna leave it this way, but I'm a little conflicted. So perks of being a Gemini. But basically, as I was doing all of this, I managed to finish 3 more books. I don't think they were very long, which is why I managed to get through them, because I was listening on 4x speed, which is why I've come in to update about those now specifically. The first out of those 3 that I needed to come speak about is called In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife. Essentially, it's like the quintessential, or I think this was the one that started the trend wherein there's a bunch of college kids and one of them is murdered, so the group is broken, and now years later they're going back to see who was the real killer. So basically, to I guess enhance on that quick summary, because that's the general plot for many mystery books, this one specifically follows Jessica Miller. In the past timeline, she made this like really tight-knit group of friends in her freshman year, and they all stuck together. They were having the time of their lives. As you watch like them going along, you can truly see them together, but at the same time there were cracks in the group that become more visible after one of their own is actually killed off. So now there's 5 people remaining, one of which is accused of killing Heather, except as it turns out that person was not guilty. So now 10 years down the line, they're having a reunion kind of situation. They're trying to just celebrate that they graduated and stuff, see where they've come to at this point in their lives or whatever, except someone doesn't want to leave that case unsolved and wants to give Heather the kind of peace and justice that she deserves. So they're trying to track down the real killer, and as it turns out, it's one of the other people from that friend group. So you're trying to, go along with it, see who was responsible, see who was behind it all, and try to understand all of that. But also there's like a bunch of clues that kind of point in everyone's direction. So you're actually trying to see who's guilty and who led up to what and how it really happened, and that's basically the storyline. I feel like this one's interesting because it's marketed as dark academia, and it's really good, but I feel like I personally enjoyed the first half more than the second, because the way it's written, I connected to this friend group like so deeply. I enjoyed Jessica's character so much towards the beginning, but as it progressed, I feel like the connection kind of severed. And while it did make sense because human emotions and just human thoughts and feelings, the way they're described in this book, it feels so realistic, I feel like it also made it very insufferable, and at some point I was just zoning out, not having a good time with it. So basically I ended up reading this one out. One of the very last twists at the end, I kind of called it, but at the same time I don't really know how to explain it. It was anticlimactic, which is why here we are. It was an alright book, that's all I'm gonna say. Nothing really special, and I feel like these books always just hit me that way because I don't know why, they just don't do it for me. So this one specifically, the first half was great, but as the story progressed, I was just getting more out of it, which is why I'm gonna give this like 3.5 stars. I'm not really sure, and I'm just happy to be done. One review I did see online though is that this book says on the cover that in her dreams she holds like a knife, except the murder weapon in the book is a pair of scissors. So where did the knife come from? And why is there no mention of the knife? It feels like false marketing, and that's just something I wanted to mention because I found that so funny. But here we are. This is one of the books I ended up reading out. I would like more recommendations like this book though, like the first half of this book if you've got any, because I did have a good time with that. I definitely felt the atmospheric vibes, and because it's like an elite kind of university and there's like a bunch of rich people, you're also trying to kind of deal with the scandalous drama of that, which was fun. But then as I kept up with it, it kind of just went down for me, which is why here we are, finished this one out. After this I ended up listening out to The Love of My Afterlife. This one basically follows this girl Delphi as she's, getting in for like an evening at home. Basically she's getting cozy and comfy, she's in her pajamas, she's got this microwavable burger set right in front of her. She's gonna go eat it, except as she starts, she begins choking on it and she dies. So as it turns out, after she dies or whatever, she's waiting in the, I guess, reception hall in the waiting room of heaven. And as she's waiting for someone to come attend to her, there's this other man who comes in and he's also waiting. And as it turns out, they start speaking or whatever. He's one of the most beautiful guys she's ever seen. He's got this charming smile. He's giving her his undivided attention, and he, is being really nice to her. She feels sparks flying, and as it turns out, he's literally her soulmate, and that's perfect because they died at the same time. They can be together in the afterlife. Except as soon as their conversation, or at least as it's going off, they're cut off midway because someone comes in to say, oh hey, this guy wasn't supposed to be here. It's actually a mistake because he was actually at the dentist's place and the drugs knocked him out and he became unconscious, in the sense that he can be revived. It's time to send him back to the planet. So he's still alive, she is still dead, he is sent back to Earth, and suddenly she just feels like her afterlife is going to be as miserable as her real life because that's it. She lost all hope of everything. Except as it turns out, I guess you can call her like the receptionist of the waiting room. She's actually Heaven's therapist or one of the therapists or whatever. But there's this woman essentially who, she is not having the best time in heaven being the therapist or whatever. She's bored and she just wants to see some romance. So she actually strikes up a deal with Delphi, the main girl or whatever, and tells her that she has 10 days. She'll be sent back to Earth, and if she can find this man and find her love with him and have him kiss her, she can get her life back and she can just continue living or whatever. Except she's only got like a 10-day timer period if she can't do anything by then, and it has not to be forcefully, it has to be out of his own will or whatever. Otherwise she has to come back to heaven and continue duties there and kind of be this therapist woman's guinea pig. And so the girl agrees. Delphi's just like, yeah, need to go back, need to get my life back, and also what are the chances that she could find love. So she ends up, taking up this deal, except in a city of millions, she knows only this guy's like first name, Jonah. She doesn't actually know what his surname is. She knows it starts with T, but then how are you supposed to locate a Jonah T when there's millions of them in the city, and she has no idea where he's from, where he is, whatnot. And that's where we're at right now. Basically she's sent back, she's trying to recruit help from people or whatever, trying to figure out where he is. But as she's doing all of that, she realizes that in her life before she died, she actually lost that spark, and now as she's running on this like wild goose chase to find this like man, she's getting that spark of life back, and something she doesn't want to die again, and she doesn't want to go back. She wants to continue with this life, but the only way she can is to find this man. So basically that's the premise. She's going about trying to figure it out, and that's how it goes. I feel like this story is so interesting because it starts off very much like an outrageous plotline or whatever. The storyline is great, don't get me wrong, but the story idea is just so ridiculous. But then as you keep reading it, it starts making sense for some reason, or at least it did to me. And it very much felt like one of those 2000s rom-com movies you feel like watching when you want something comforting and wholesome. And as you go along with it and her journey, you're actually rooting for her to find love, life, and happiness. And as she's getting it, it's so good. But then there's also the factor of time running out and time being of essence, and it's hard because the clock is ticking and you watch this girl slowly get her life back and you don't want her to lose it. like literally. But at the same time, it's kind of hard to watch because suddenly, she's questioning everything she decided of her own life, and for some reason that had me questioning stuff about my life, and I don't know why. It hit me harder than it should have. Maybe I read it at the exact right moment that I needed to. It was the perfect book, at least in that specific moment, and as I went along with it, I found every emotion in this. I was crying at some bits. It's a rom-com and I cried. There were so many happy bits. I was giggling. I couldn't stop myself because it's just so swoony and sweet, and I had the best time ever. And the romance is kind of unexpected in this because the storyline is kind of set, but at the same time, as it happens and as you go along with it, once it clicks and once there's this last n-minute plot twist that's revealed, I wish I can go back and read this for the first time again, wipe my memory clean, and just experience that book again, because it was such a roller coaster and I had the best time ever. And listen, I'm just gonna say it, this was 5 stars. My idea of a perfect book, and that's crazy because it was so unexpected. I wouldn't have even had this on my TBR had it not been for the word Afterlife, because I was in a Halloween mood at that point. And then not just that, just such a random romance that I picked up, not expecting to have the time of my life, but surprisingly I did. So now I'm gonna go buy myself a physical copy and maybe look back on it at some point, go again and reread it, because I had the best time ever. It also has some cool modern day references, like that therapist woman who lives in heaven or whatever, as she's reading her own rom-coms, she references reading Emily Henry and wanting to go back and whatnot, and references like Niall Horan and stuff. And it's so funny to me because all these things line up with real life, and while I would normally not like that stuff, I get a little pissed off. For some reason I had a great time with it. And listen, this was the perfect book for me. This was my ideal one, and I'm so happy I got to it because I had the best time. And if you haven't already, please go pick it up. Last book I read is called The Girl Who Drank the Moon. Essentially, there's this protectorate. They kind of have this thing wherein every year they sacrifice one of the newest born babies in the forest to please the witch so that she doesn't harm the people or whatever. So this kind of does remind me of The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, except in that book they sacrifice brides. Here they're sacrificing babies. However, as it turns out, it's actually a thing that the older people in the village, so the town head people or whatever, have been keeping up a ruse to keep the people in check. There is no witch that does that, and there is no witch whose wrath they have to fight off. It's just something they want to use to keep people in check. As it turns out, they're dropping all these people, the babies, in the forest or whatever, but there is actually a witch. She's a friendly, kind one, and she hates to see all these babies being left there to die because it's just a trick by those old people. But she doesn't want them to be dead because she's just a nice, friendly person. She lives with a swamp monster and a dragon. And so every year on these sacrificial days, she goes to collect the baby and deliver it across the forest to a different family who would look after the abandoned child and treat them as their own baby because they couldn't have their own children. And that's basically the storyline. Here in this one though, one of the girls is actually left off for the witch, except as the witch is making the journey to take her across the forest. As it turns out, she generally feeds these children starlight so that they're nourished on the path or whatever, because it's a 3-day journey or something like that. I'm not really sure, I don't remember, it's been a bit. But accidentally, because she isn't paying attention, she ends up feeding the child moonlight, and suddenly the kid has powers. So she decides to name her Luna and raise Luna as her own. And it's going great, except as it turns out, Luna now is starting to develop her own magical powers. So the witch actually locks it away until she turns 13, the girl, so that she can unlock it at that point and then have access to it then. Except as it turns out, when she's turning 13 and the powers are coming and sacrificial day is coming soon again, the witch has to go off, and she's not near Luna at the time of her birthday to help her with the powers because she's trying to find the new baby that's been sacrificed. But at the same time, one of the village boys, he doesn't want his newborn kid to be the sacrificial lamb or whatever, so he's actually going out in the forest to kill the witch or whatever, and Luna finds out. So now she wants to go stop that boy because he's going to the sacrificial point to kill the witch. The witch is going to save the baby, and Luna can't risk losing the witch because that's her grandma to her, and so she also needs to go figure out how she's going to protect her own little family. And I feel this was a really cozy, sweet book, but at the same time I was bored at specific bits, and so it was heartwarming, it was wholesome, but it just wasn't for me specifically because I did get bored. And maybe cozy fantasy at the moment at least isn't it, because I've been reading so much high stakes stuff at this moment that's the only thing I'm looking forward to. So it was a good book, don't get me wrong, but it just wasn't for me in the moment, which is why I'm giving it 3 stars. Happy to have read it. It definitely had its moments, but it wasn't the best ever. And here we are. With this, we have reached the end of the vlog because I feel like I've been yapping for a bit, so I'm gonna cut this update short now. And I'm just gonna say, hopefully you guys had a fun time coming along with me in this long journey. We got through so many books off my TBR, finished only 2 panels, so I'm like a little worried about the rest of the ones I need to finish, but regardless, we did find a 5-star book, so that's like a good sign that I'm getting out of my slump. And if you haven't already, please go pick it up and tell me your thoughts in the comments on it, because truly I just need someone to discuss that book with me. It was one of my best reads of the year and I'm still thinking about it, so here we are. But yeah, we've now reached the end of the video. If you guys had a fun time coming along with me, like, comment, share, subscribe. YouTube things, you know how to do them. Thanks for watching, and now I guess I'll just see you next week in next week's video whenever that comes out, because that's also a really fun one. So excited to share it with you when it does come out. But until then, take care, stay safe. I'll see you guys very soon, and yeah, that's it. You can just stay tuned for that. Bye.